Christian Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Confronting Old Testament Controversies, pressing questions about evolution, sexuality, history, and violence, by Tremper Longman III. Narrated by George W. Sarris. Introduction. I became a Christian during the Jesus Revolution of the late 1960s and early 70s. Those of us who were teenagers or young adults at the time remember the period as turbulent, occasionally frightening, but also exciting. God used the social unrest of the moment to attract many of us to the message of the gospel. I had grown up in a rather liberal church that was interested in the social gospel, but not so much in encouraging members to cultivate a personal relationship with God through Jesus. The Bible was read during services, but there was no real encouragement to study it or to treat it as the Word of God. Thus, with my newfound faith came a new deep interest in the Bible. In my sophomore year in college, I decided to be a religion major, thinking that studying the Bible and theology in college would deepen my faith. And it did, but perhaps not in the way that I had imagined. My religion professors did their best to undermine my fledgling faith, as well as that of my friends. They thought we were naive, and in many ways we certainly were. But they were more interested in questioning our faith than helping us build a more mature faith. Readers today have their choices in Bibles: the New International Version, the New Living Translation, the Message, the English Standard Version, and on, and a plethora of books written by committed Christian scholars. But younger readers may not realize that this wealth of resources is a recent phenomenon. Back in the early 1970s, we had only the Revised Standard Version, a high-style translation that, for various reasons, good and bad, was not acceptable to the evangelical church. The King James Version, a 17th century translation, or the Living Bible, a paraphrase. In terms of evangelical scholarly material on the Bible and theology, there wasn't much. Our college fellowship did not have any real support from local churches either. They were either not evangelical and, like our professors, frowned on our passionate, yet to them naive, faith, or they were conservative and did not support us because we were hippies. Looking back, it is hard to believe today, but when our college fellowship approached one pastor about our going to his church, he refused to let us in. He said that if we showed up with our long hair, he would be fired the next day. Though support was hard to find, we did have help from a new college ministry in the area called the Coalition for Christian Outreach, a ministry that is still going strong in western Pennsylvania and Ohio. About once a month, we got a visit from a young theologian named R.C. Sproul, who came from his home base in Ligonier, Pennsylvania. Don't get me wrong, some other resources were available to us from authors like Francis Schaeffer, Watchman Nee, and a young theologian named J.I. Packer, who was just starting to write. And there were others writing for a more scholarly audience, but I would not be exposed to them until I got to seminary. I mention all this only to indicate why I decided to pursue an academic and writing career. I wanted to help provide the resources that would benefit people like me who wanted to learn more about the Bible. At this point, I wasn't sure what field I would go into, and I needed to start with a general Master of Divinity degree anyway. So I decided to make the decision about what specialty I would pursue while I was in seminary. Early in my seminary career, I took classes on the Old Testament with a young professor of the Old Testament named Ray Dillard, and I was hooked. Ray had the ability to open up the biblical text in ways that not only illuminated the ancient meaning, but also demonstrated the ancient text's continuing relevance for Christian life today. Through his influence, I decided to get a doctorate in ancient Near Eastern languages and literature and pursue a teaching and writing career in Old Testament. Ray not only inspired me, he also hired me even before I finished my degree. We worked together at Westminster.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?